Everyone's clapping, man. You are so good.
Thanks,
it's so
man.
fun
Thank
to
you.
watch. Welcome, Larnell Lewis, back to the Drumeo Studios.
Hey, people.
It took us a while to get the schedule in, but we finally got it. He is all over the place. After this, you say you're going on tour with Snarky Puppy
I am.
in Germany.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And he's out here with us today to give us, this is kind of a free online event. And then for Edge members, we have tomorrow, which is Tuesday and Wednesday, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth in those lessons as well. And so it's going to be a fun time having you out here. I know I'm here as a student just as much I am as a host. So I love just chatting with you about drum stuff and the things that your approach, because it is very different. I think This is what I always say. Like, what separates the good drummers from the pros is like you seem to have more levels and more like layers to your playing, and whereas like a normal drummer will have like 1, 2, 3, or small, medium, large, you'll have like 10 different things, and you can just kind of like go in between those. And so I love picking the brain of a pro like yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, my brain is yours to pick.
So this is the first in a gospel drumming series. This is number 1, and so you basically he's actually prepared a track, and that was the track you just played.
Yeah,
too?
The last track is the track I just.
And so this is all kind of about for you drummers who want to play in church. Like I grew up playing in church. I think my first church thing was when I was 16.
Nice.
Yours was probably 2. But a lot of us play in church, and there's so many. It takes a different mindset and a different way of playing than if you were to play in a club or you were to play in like any sort of every venue kind of requires that. And so I think it's really cool that we get to touch on it here in Drumeo, and especially with a guy like Larnell seems to have it all figured out.
Oh man, I'm still learning myself.
Cool. One question: are we going to be able to get that track you just played for like the drumless version? Can they play one?
I'm working on it. I'm working on it with a bunch of producer guys. We're going to see what we can do to get you guys some play-alongs that actually will allow you to exercise and stretch at home over gospel music. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and so for those of you here, and whether you're watching it in the archives or here, there is a PDF below. We didn't display it because the PDF is for all 3 gospel lessons that we're doing, and so you just go ahead and kind of download that package, and you can follow along there. But let's just jump right into it. So we're going through the song "Holy, Holy, Holy," and that's an arrangement you put together.
Yeah. It's an arrangement of a hymnal, a song from a hymn book called "Holy, Holy, Holy," and I guess through these next few days, if you join me or join us, we'll be going through a couple of standard songs that you'll encounter while playing in church, and just kind of talk about the approach and talk about what to do, what not to do, when to do, what to do, those kinds of things, because it's definitely about timing, no pun intended, and understanding what the music is about, what it's for, what you're trying to do, and the atmosphere you're trying to create. So we'll get into a couple of those things right now with "Holy, Holy, Holy."
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, let's go. I'm just letting you go, man, because I'm here as a student too.
So we'll jump in. You'll see the beginning of the song starts off with a very basic pattern. For you guys who have your sheet, it'll actually be number 1. Okay. All right, basic verse pattern. And I'm just using cross stick. Actually, basic pattern, verse pattern 1 and 2, they happen within the same verse. So the first half is, as you can see on the chart, cross stick on beat 4, and then cross stick on 2 and 4 for the second half. I'll play that for you, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
All right, so that's basic pattern number 1. Number 2, we'll put the cross stick on beat 2, as well as beat 4. There we go. All right, so I chose those 2 for the beginning of the song, specifically basic pattern number 1, because out the gate with a song that starts off as delicately as that, you can hear piano, a little bit of organ, a very nice, lush, like full sounding intro, but it's not big. So you don't want to come in with anything in terms of the bass pattern for that section of the song. You don't want to be too abrasive. You don't want to be too overbearing, and you want to be sensitive. For me, what I found with playing in church is that it's important that you're sensitive. You're sensitive to what's happening at the moment. You're sensitive to what's happening in the music. You're sensitive to whoever's leading, and you're listening to what's going on, because as people feel it, they might, rise and fall with dynamics. So I chose to start off the song with only cross stick on beat 4, because I felt that playing it on beat 4, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, beat 4, I felt that would still allow for forward motion to happen in the song. If I didn't play anything, I would probably play hi-hat on 2 and 4 sometimes. But for the sake of that song and that particular example, I felt that cross stick on 4 made the most sense to leave it as open as possible without sacrificing the forward motion. And then when you need to take it up a notch, you can add the cross stick on beat 2.
And when you're first hear a song, like I always would think, okay, I don't want to just like go all out in the beginning because the song's going to sound like this.
Yeah.
Like one level. I always like to have, some sort of dynamic. Think about the long term of the song.
Absolutely.
And that's where I always used a ton of cross stick. But do you think that in gospel music in general, you use more of that cross stick type feel than in other styles of music necessarily?
I wouldn't say more than other styles. I would just say that how I came across it was inside of gospel music, and I found that approach to be effective in other styles. So you might see something similar to that in pop music, where sometimes they might do cross stick on beat 2 and a snare on beat 4.
Yeah, that's true.
So you'll find that even with gospel music, it shares, similar approaches to other styles in terms of how to create that dynamic flow or how to pace yourself for the long run.
Yeah. Can you also talk about the hi-hat dynamics you're doing in that part? Because you're doing a few different things, and exactly why you chose that pattern as opposed to just... I mean, I probably would have simplified it because I couldn't play it as good as that. But I would have just done the straight A.
Man, what I would say for the hi-hat pattern, again, it's about what I've learned over time from playing different styles of music is that you can create the ebbs and flows or the dynamics. You can allow dynamics to move up and down, or the aggression of a song to move up and down, or the forward motion to move forward, or to the song to feel like it's resting based on how many subdivisions you're putting in, right? So I wanted it to have this kind of like...
Right. Not to,
exactly.
It's kind of like the wheel turning, right? Yeah, I never even thought about it like that. Rather than...
it just creates space, and I found that when you do something like that, like the melody can breathe more. The other players have a chance to kind of fill up those spaces and do whatever it is that's necessary, or to do nothing at all.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So should we move on to the next section?
Yeah, let's move to the next part. So, did a nice pop ballad fill, snare and tongs to take me to the ride cymbal. One thing I had to learn was when to go to the ride cymbal. It is possible to go to the ride cymbal too early. It's also possible to go to the ride cymbal too late. And it's all dependent on what's happening in the music. Before I play the pattern, I will explain that I mostly used the body of the ride cymbal before utilizing the bell, which I saved for later on, so I had somewhere to go again, building it up in levels. So I'll get into the basic pattern for the, I guess you could say it's the second time around. So ride and snare, this would be number 3. right, so that was number 3.
Yeah.
Like I said. And what was happening there, same as the hi-hat, I was choosing what beats were going to be strong and weak. So again, still creating that flow, creating that space within that forward flow. I'm a lot more aggressive with my snare drum, and I'm just accenting as soon as I hit the bell, just like the edge of the hi-hat, accenting quarter notes, and the other 16th notes were played with the tip of the stick, similar to the body of the rat.
Yeah, so you get 2 different timbres.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. And let's say every song like kind of starts in the hi-hat and you want to have this build, and I know it's common in every song, so it's hard to say, oh, it's just gospel drumming. We were talking about this before. But I know from growing up playing in church that you want to have that, even though it's almost more so in songs. There's less of them start really heavy and stuff like that. But from the hi-hat, is it always to the ride, or majority of times to the ride, or sometimes do you bring it up in a different way?
Yeah, sometimes it really just depends on your situation.
Yeah.
It depends on the arrangement. It depends on what it is that you're trying to do. So let's take that pattern, for example. Let's take pattern number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so cross stick on tune 4.
Okay.
What I'll do is, to bring it up another level, I'll play snare, and then I might go into something like an open hi-hat thing.
Okay.
Eventually near the end. So we'll see how it shapes up towards the end. Here we go.
Nice. So, I hope you guys heard that. It's a very cool demonstration to hear. You took that one pattern, essentially, and it just slowly went up. And this is exactly what I was talking about at the beginning, levels, right? He's got more levels.
That's funny.
I don't know if that's the right way. Have you seen that Seinfeld? And then I'm going to build levels? Do you
No,
watch
I
Seinfeld?
haven't seen it. Oh
Okay,
my gosh,
forget
I
it
need
then.
to see it. Somebody send me that clip, please. Send it to me.
One guy's Rhythm 45 says, I've got 5 levels. That's good.
All right, man.
So let's continue on then through the track. And for those watching, get your questions in now. If you're watching this live, there's already a lot coming in. So I would like to get to everyone if possible.
Yeah, more.
Yeah.
Well, as much as you can, guys. It'd be cool.
Cool.
Don't forget, I'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah. But this is public, and so
Okay. Yeah. So you'll have to sign up, and you'll have to find it, guys.
Larnell the salesman is here.
So anyway,
for 14 easy payments of $1.99.
Exactly. You too can join the fun. Anyway, I'll stop playing the fool.
Okay.
So I guess we're going to move on to pattern number 4. You're probably wondering, where is the bass drum on beat 1? That is something that I learned inside of church, and I've heard in other contexts, as a way of creating a floating type feeling. It's usually a drum pattern that you will use, or that I would use in a situation where we are, for those instrumentalists out there that actually play a chordal instrument, or you know your theory, usually hanging on the 4 chord. So if you're in the key of C, you're hanging on an F major 7, maybe hitting on the sharp 11, you never know. So all the theory people out there. That floating feeling is really nice when you're sitting on a chord like that, or a nice progression like that, where it just kind of turns around and keeps turning on itself. If you flip back to the track, you'll hear what was going on. So I'll play that pattern. This is pattern number 4. It has a little bit of a bossa samba kind of feel to it. Almost similar to, if you guys listen to, I guess it's Billy Joel, there's Don't Go Changing. What's the name of the song again?
Oh, man, I don't know.
Don't go changing to try and please me, you know. My wife's going to laugh at me for that one. Anyway, so I'll play this pattern. You guys look for that song. I think you know which one I'm talking about. Liberty DeVito on drums. So here it is, number 4. Okay?
Yeah, I love that the offbeat hi-hat.
Yeah.
I think that adds like a huge element, and I think people really underutilize that as adding a really cool element to their groove. And they just think, no one will hear it, so I'm not going to do it. But if you actually like give it a good stomp.
Yeah, if you kind of throw it in there, it within a pattern like that, it's exposed, or it just kind of sits really nicely in a way to, again, to keep the forward motion going. I could play the pattern without it.
Yeah,
maybe you can
cool
just quickly see.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little A-B.
Yeah, let's go for it. Here we go.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I had something and I just lost it. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, so what's next? And so, or why did you go from that straight beat, something with backbeat 2 and 4, to something with essentially no backbeat, or different? Because I guess you're considering the bass drum.
I mean the bass drum is now taking over to me in that pattern, the bass drum is what makes it rest, right?
Yeah.
4, 1, 2, and the hi-hat's kind of creating that boom, 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 1, boom, like that forward motion, and then the snare kind of dances around, which the next pattern kind of gets into a little more of a dance between the ride and the.
Yeah. I guess I'm just wondering, like, how would a drummer know when to use this pattern?
For me, I found out about it by listening to different styles of music.
Okay.
But when to know, like, when is the time to use something like that? Experiment. I mean, I would normally use it when the music is coming down from a high, and we've been really aggressive, like in that track, like I'm on the ride cymbal, you know. and then start this time to float. So you just take your time and float once that high energy section is complete, or once you've moved on. Usually, like I said, hanging on what would be considered the 4-chord, C, D, E, F major 7, F major 9, and whatnot, other extensions for people, again, that are into theory. But sometimes it might not be the time. Sometimes you need to revert back to the actual pattern, basic pattern number 1. Mm-hmm. I wonder if I could find that part of the song and maybe
be cool.
Maybe to throw basic pattern number 1 back in there. Let's give it a go. Forgive me while I search.
So pretty. So I see, it's interesting how both patterns work. So it's just a matter of making a musical decision on which one to actually use.
And again, for the theory people out there, they're kind of hanging out on the 1 chord, if you're wondering. But it really depends on, again, the atmosphere. If it is that time to float, but to still allow the music to move forward, without doing a bunch of cymbal swells or just playing light time to inform the hi-hat, you can go there, or you could start playing 2 and 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, drum fill, and boom, boom, got, boom, 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 got, boom. Yeah, so it really is about your musical judgment at the moment. And like I said, for me, I learned it by listening to, different albums, but also experiencing in church what needed to happen, getting a lot of bad looks when I did the wrong thing at the wrong time, which is it has a lot to do with the learning experience.
That's
overall,
how you learn, man, at these looks.
Yeah.
People are like, what did he just do?
Yeah, you go there at the wrong time, you get the ride at the wrong time, and you get one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lesson number 1. Don't get one of these. You don't want that. So.
Cool. Okay. What would be the next pattern?
The next pattern. So we basically take that pattern up a notch. We take it, I guess we could say, to level 2 of that pattern. So what's going to happen is, with my ride cymbal, I'm going to head back to a faster 16th note, 32nd note, skip beat kind of thing.
Just basically double the time.
Yeah, just basically double the time of the original hi-hat pattern. And I'm going to add some floor tom in there. So let's see how it goes. All right, so for me, I jump to that when I feel that the band is starting to percolate a little more, and I do not want to compromise the general flow of the pattern. So you'll notice that the bass drum, the hi-hat stayed the same. I added a little more snare, maybe one more hit, or maybe it was a little more aggressive with that hit, and I added the floor tom to that. So to kind of, strengthen what was happening on the bass drum, basically. Yeah.
Cool. Do you often replace the snare drum on count 4 or whatever with the floor tom, and do you feel that adds a lift or is the same?
It really just depends. I mean, depending on the sound of your toms, depending on the amount of toms you have, depending on what's happening in the music. Again, it's about musical judgment, but for me, when it comes to, I guess, taking it up a notch or trying to maybe replace the floor tom or not play the floor tom on beat 4, I might add a couple of other tom hits, just like sprinkling them around that basic pattern.
Yeah.
And maybe if the bass player is doing something specific, I might echo it, or I might do something that complements.
Cool.
It's not exactly the same.
And also I want to mention the ride pattern that he was doing, just that simple technique of playing that and then doubling it while keeping everything else the same is a real challenge in just developing your note values, developing independence between your limbs and stuff. That's something I love doing. I think it's like cool because you can just kind of lift the song just by changing one small element. Right? Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, we got to keep moving along because we have lots of questions. So.
Okay. Let me jump to where we at now. We're at number
6, I think.
Yeah, we're at number 6. So number 6 is another thing where it's another lift where there's a bit more of a dance happening on the snare. I say dance because it's like light fluttering, especially in the music. You're hearing the piano go and the ride cymbals going. So see what you can do with the snare. So let's jump to that.
Okay.
All right. And actually, in sequential order, I'll start with number 4, then go to 5, and then I'll end up on number 6.
Yeah.
Cool?
Cool.
Here we go. Yeah, one thing I like to do at the end is just like get you to, if possible, just to kind of play through all the minutes of rotation without the music, so we can kind of hear all these different kind of places that you're taking this feel. Yeah, cool. Awesome. The last thing I'll hit, you guys are looking at it, it says complex fill. This is number 7. All right, now I use this more so in that section prior to this bass drum on 2 and 4 feel that we were just covering in the last few minutes. When playing this particular fill, as you can see, the beginning part of the bar, so the first 2 beats, it's more of an actual beat, and then the actual fill happens on the last 2 beats of that bar. So I'll play the full bar as you see it on your page, and then I'll actually just repeat that 2-beat patterns over and over again a couple times. Here we go.
Oh, I love that, Phil. You know what I like about it is last time you were here, one of the things you said is just, and it hasn't gone out of my mind since then, is like, even with all your fills, try and keep that backbeat going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one thing I noticed about that. It's like, I could still groove, I still had that feel. It wasn't all of a sudden like, where to go, and then we're back.
Yeah, you don't
Right?
want to do that. you might get one of the looks, you know.
Yeah, especially I think that's even more so in a church setting because I don't know. I was at a thing with my, maybe I shouldn't bring this up. Well, I was with people that I know really close to me. These people possibly even raised me in their I won't mention any names, Mom and Dad, but they're clapping on the 1 and 3, right? And so because there was no pulse, there wasn't that in the music, and I'm like, hey, Mom. I was like, do that. So, but I think that's why it's one reason it's so important just to keep that going. Like musically, it's obviously great, but if you're playing to a congregation of people and it's like collectively singing, collectively listening, that sort of thing, I think it's really important to kind of, for the drummer at least, to not interrupt that or to try and make it as easy as possible for everyone.
Yeah, totally. You know, a song like this, you'll actually find that it's in a service, it's a moment where people are meditating. You know, they're in deep thought, and you do not want to disrupt them. I mean, imagine if you were taking some quiet time by yourself, you're just sitting in a quiet room, and some music is going, and all of a sudden you just hear, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would disturb you. It would rock you. You would not be able to concentrate anymore. And so, again, you know, kind of going back to something I said earlier, which was being sensitive. You want to be sensitive to what's actually happening in that moment. And a few of these patterns, you know, knowing when to be aggressive and knowing when to lay back, and kind of like basically jumping on a few of these would actually get you kind of in the right direction to playing in a song situation like that, where it's that ballad, you know, it's that not power ballad until a certain point, but it's that sensitive moment within a service or within a time of, you know, of the gathering.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, so what I always recommend you guys take like one pattern and something like that. But I'd really recommend if you want to go through this lesson, and for you Edge members who are, you know, you're going to be here for all 3 of the series, to go. He's spent a lot of time developing this series, and I think the best way to go through it is kind of sequentially how he's laid out the actual sheet music. So in this case, you know, practice number 1 and then go to number 2 and practice them all in order. And I think that's going to help you develop the feel that's necessary for you to then play to this song or this type of music or stuff like that. But rather than like just saying, I'm going to learn that one fill, you're missing the point of the lesson, I think. The fills are really cool, and we have 500 hours of lessons in drumming now, many of them teaching fills. But I really think you guys could gain some really like the feel, right? Develop those levels, and if you play and learn each of these grooves, you'll kind of get a sense for what it's like to be Larnell. By the way, you guys, he is like severely under the weather, and you're a champ, man.
Thanks, man. Thank
He's
you.
a total pro. Came out this morning. I met him in the airport, and he's like, I'm like, what is this? This is like a Toronto thing? He didn't want to shake my hand. All right, that's fine. And then he said he's sick, so I get it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to infect anybody else. It's just a head cold, but
that's all right. I never get sick.
There you go.
So you don't have to worry about me. I say that, and then tomorrow I'm going to be like,
hey guys, welcome to Drumio.
Okay, so there's lots of questions and stuff. I'm just going to kind of go through the questions. If you don't mind, maybe just like, maybe play a little solo or something for like 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to kind of like sift through some of these, get some good ones, and then he's going to play you out with some music. So if you have questions now's the time to get them in. Well, he's entertaining us with a little soloage. And then, we'll get here and then do some music.
Nice.
I totally put him on the spot, by the way. He had no idea.
Totally. Let's see what I can come up with here. All right. Here we go.
use this with the cowbell like that. You're really sick.
Oh man.
Awesome solo, man.
Thank you.
I went through the place where we store all the questions here, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to star each one I want to ask. And I ended up starring pretty much all of them. So that was, at least we got a solo out of it. So we're going to have to go a little bit quick here.
Okay.
This is from Malcolm. He says, hi, I play at my local church and was wondering if you have a tip or any tips for playing slow songs. I know this is something I had trouble with too. So
Cool. Playing slow songs, the important thing to remember is that it's very easy to slow down. So you want to work with a metronome at home and be able to, play all the things that you would normally play in those situations to that click so that you can actually keep that momentum up, keep that forward motion going, and so that it doesn't drag and fall behind. Because again, in those services or in those musical situations, if the drums are falling back, then it starts to feel lackadaisical, it starts to feel really lazy, and then it becomes very noticeable to the ear, and people become distracted, and they're no longer in that particular frame of mind or in that flow or meditating as they were before. So I would definitely say work with a click. I would also say, pay attention to what the other musicians are doing and do what you can to support. So to support, to me, would mean laying down a very solid groove, again, keeping that flow going, but paying attention, and being able to actually maybe hit a couple shots with each other, like a lot of eye communication, and then working with dynamics. Those would be the things I would say for sure as tips for playing slow songs in church.
For me, what helped is if a lot of times, like, what he's done is he's added a few different subdivisions in, especially that first groove he played, where I think, and sometimes that could make it easier to not speed up or to keep that forward motion going. So I would say really work on like exercise number 1 and 2 with that right hand pattern at a very slow tempo.
Yeah.
Is that song at like 70 or 65?
I think about 63, 65,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's great. This one's from Jake C. He says, Mr. Lewis, awesome lesson, and thanks for coming out. Is that your Yamaha kit, and what series are they?
Ooh. I want it. Where's Sean Brown? Sean Brown, I want it.
He might be watching.
I know. I love you, Sean. This, if you're not familiar with it, and you should check it out online, it's the new Live Custom Oak. It's basically a newer version of the Oak kit that Yamaha has just recently put out, which I'm really starting to get accustomed to and love. The shell depths and the finishes are crazy. The heads I have on here right now are just clear G2s and clear G1s on the bottom. I wanted to try and allow the drums to ring out as much as possible.
Yeah.
They do not belong to me, so.
They were lent to us for this session here. So.
Yeah,
I believe the difference between these Oak Customs and these Live Customs and the Oak Customs was the shell width, right?
The amount of ply.
The thickness, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm not exactly sure, but I think the original Oak Customs were like super lively, and they wanted to maybe like rein it in a tiny bit.
Yeah,
so
just a little bit. There's a little more control, tighter sound, but still the body and presence of that darker oak wood that you'd normally get.
Yeah, we love it. Every time we've had an oak kit in here, I really want one now.
Nice.
Next one is from Missionary Beats. It says, I'm truly enjoying this lesson mostly because gospel is my genre. My question is for Mr. Lewis, what's your favorite gospel song to play and why?
Ooh.
I know it's a hard one.
Oh, that is so hard. Oh, Missionary Beats, come on. You can't do that to me. Not on live national television. Well, it's not television, but it's the same thing. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Man. It's going to sound generic or cliche, but I really just enjoy playing songs that feel good, I like the slower stuff. I like the more up-tempo stuff because they all do different things. If I had to pick a moment or a song, it might just be a chorus of some sort that is really upbeat that allows me to really lay into the snare drum like 2 and 4, a nice like 90 BPM, 95 BPM tune. It could be anything to be honest at that point, but Yeah,
Okay.
that's the best I could do, man.
This next question is from Sean Boy, and you have two questions, but I'm just going to ask one. It's going to cost you double to get a second question. How do you keep from feeling stale or worn down? He says he's coming to the point in his ability where I feel like I hit a wall and can't get my desire to learn back. I know that most musicians go through this, but what have you done personally to break through?
I definitely went through this. I absolutely had moments where I didn't like what I was hearing out of myself, and anything that I created just definitely, perfect words, felt stale. What I did was I started to hang around with a couple of my friends and just kind of listen to what they were listening to. I took a break from the drums and just started to listen to music and different styles of music, And then when I had a chance to just get back in, I was able to approach it with a completely clear mind and a different approach altogether. And I think you just need a break if that's the case, man.
Yeah. And I think the tip about listening to a different style of music is going to help you think in a different mindset. So I think that's a great tip.
Yeah, but don't lose the love.
Yeah. And this is from Nicola. Also asked two questions, but I can just get to one. He says, if you were to give us one tip, what would it be?
The tip would be to listen, because what you do on the drums should reflect what's happening in the band in any musical situation. So listen to know what the bass player is playing and be able to sing it, know what the guitar player is playing and be able to support it. Pay attention and just listen is the one tip I would definitely give to everyone.
Great tip. This is from Gil Flores. And Gil's an awesome Drumeo Edge member. He says, hey, Larnell, nice to have you. Nice to have you too, Jared. It sounded like... Larnell, I would think that inspiration is a big part of your music. What kind of things do you do to inspire people you play with, and what do they do that inspires you?
Smile. Smile and have fun.
Yeah.
Because to me, the point of what I'm doing is, if you want to look at this as being an entertainer, for example, people don't come from a long day of work to be, to a venue or to a performance to sit there and be, feeling to feel devastated or to feel sadder than they actually were when they got there. For me, it's about, just pushing out that joy or just showing people the joy that I have for this instrument and that musical situation, and hope that it's infectious enough to lift them up enough to have a good day.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Keep on going. Lots of questions about gear, and so you guys, we're not going to go too much into gear today. We can do that more tomorrow.
Which means you got to come back.
You got to come back. This one's from J.G. Videra, and he says, got so happy seeing you play French grip. How do you practice the flying finger technique? He's currently working on that, and is that any issue? He says sometimes the back of his hand starts to hurt, and I've read that there can be a lot of physical problems, so how do I do it right? And he says, thank you, this is the first time I actually came to a live lesson, loving it so far.
Oh, nice, cool. Welcome.
Yeah.
And when it comes to grip, I found that getting the most amount of follow through with your stick, depending on where you are on the drum kit, to me is what makes the most amount of sense. So, if I'm kind of coming at the snare like this, or if I'm playing the ride cymbal like this, kind of having a short memory lapse in terms of French.
French grip, it's the thumbs up. You do it a ton.
Yeah.
And so you were doing it especially you do it a lot on the snare to the high tom, and then down here is when you turn. Because I'm studying you.
Yeah, and get power.
You get power, right?
Yeah, for me, I did a lot of, if you want to get into, I don't know if anyone can see this.
Yeah, this is a great exercise.
So,
you have this camera right here too.
Yeah,
if you want.
okay, cool. So, you can see what's going on here. You can work your individual fingers as well, just like only the three outside of the fulcrum, obviously.
Yeah.
And then you could really utilize that when,
And is that something you practiced a lot?
It's something that I would use to warm up with.
Okay.
Definitely. Between my brother and I, he's definitely like a big French grip buff. And when it comes to just playing the snare, it feels natural to to do a lot of my rudiments, because I do rely on finger and bounce
Yeah.
when I'm like doing a lot of like stick work on the snare. But when I really need to just get that,
Okay.
you know, that sound, right? You heard it?
Yeah.
The Bluey speakers. You know, resort to the other grip. But I would just say techniques are there to allow you to be able to play with efficiency, like to be able to disperse your energy properly and not injure yourself. So, you know, if you are injuring yourself when you're doing a lot of these things, just kind of take a second look at what's going on. I'm pretty sure there's like a lot of material online. Yeah,
get someone to look at it if you can. Like here at Drumeo, you're allowed to submit. You can submit a video, and we'll just look at it and be like, "Okay, do this, do this." Get a private teacher is always good because they can just like, you know, turn your hand and say, "Don't." The good ones. There's some teachers that don't understand much about grip or like how to not injure yourself, and so make sure you get someone that knows what they're talking about. This one's from Bald Eagle, and it says, "Mr. Larnell, I play with a lot with different songs like Kim Walker, Martin Smith, and Hillsong. Is that a good idea to play along with? If so, what drum covers should I listen to?"
Within the gospel realm, just listen to as much as you can. Inspirational, you know, Christian contemporary. Listen to as much of it as you can. I think it's a great idea to play along to that Hillsong, like to Hillsong's music. If you're not familiar with Hillsongs, they are a Christian contemporary group you can check out. They border a little more on the contemporary rock side of things, I guess you could say. And you know, especially if you're going to be playing a lot of that music in your church or crusades or whatever the event or situation is, you want to get the feel. And so if you're going to, you know, play in a band, like a James Brown cover band, you'd need to play along to those tracks to really be able to get that feel down. And I would definitely say what you're doing for that is perfect. Other than that, you know, I would say branch out to a little more of the gospel, like Israel Houghton. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Israel Houghton. Kirk Franklin, again, modern. A drummer, awesome drummer named Calvin Rogers, actually is the musical director for Fred Hammond. So he's another artist you can check out as well.
Cool. This one's from April Singer. Can you compare gospel style music to contemporary praise and worship? What's the difference?
Contemporary praise and worship, I really feel that it's, if we're going to talk about comparing it, I feel that it's centered around, you know, more of what's happening with the guitar, a little more, even just the keys that they choose, like, you know, open A's, open E's. Like the gospel music coming from, you know, that American Pentecostal gospel sound, just kind of sits in like a funkier zone in terms of its influences, you know, like, I mean, there's Motown, there's James Brown, there's a lot of jazz artists that have influenced gospel music and vice versa when it comes to gospel. But then when you're looking at contemporary music, again, it's kind of has a little more of a rock edge, a little more of a like an open guitar or a couple guitars.
I would say it's straighter. Like, you know, just more like that sort of thing.
Totally.
You don't hear that in the gospel music, like a lot of stuff that you're playing, developing. It's I don't even know how to place it.
And then you have some people who actually mix the two. So you might get the like some like really funky kind of backbeat thing going. So it just depends on the artist, you know.
Cool. Okay, last question, and sorry for those who we missed. If you guys, like I said, the next lesson with Larnell will definitely get to every single question and every single one we do with just the Edge members only, just because there's too many to handle. This is from Morty Shanks 16. Can you please show me the one rudiment or exercise that has helped you develop your insane groove? Many thanks, and see you tomorrow.
Cool. It's not one, man. If it was one, I would bottle it, and I don't know what I would do after I bottle it, but you could figure that one out. But when it comes to just working on groove, I mean, rudiments are a grouping of stickings, you know? And if I did a paradiddle groove, or a paradiddle pattern on the drums, I'm making a groove. So really it's about your ears, and it's about making your limbs sync up but also adding the necessary swing or the necessary push-pull for this pattern to groove. You know, a groove, a pocket is something that you sit inside of, you know? So if you're, driving on the road and there's a bunch of grooves in the road or bumps in the road or whatnot, potholes, like it's the consistency of it, or just how deep you are inside of each stroke in terms of your pacing. It's how you pace those strokes is what will create the groove. And it's the space between the notes that also really help to make things feel good. So I can't nail it down to one rudiment. I would just say you got to use your ears and you got to find music to copy.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
No problem.
One of these. I'm gonna get sick. Thanks so much for coming out. For you here who are not an Edge member, we'd absolutely love to have you. No pressure, but because we do this every Monday and we offer it as a free service to the community, just to kind of give you a taste test of what it's like to be a Drumeo Edge member. But if you want more information on Drumeo Edge, just go to drumeoedge.com, and there's a whole the whole write-up and video trailer, and you can kind of see what all the kind of cool stuff we do. This is one very, very, obviously the most important element, and it's been a blast having you out here. So he's going to play us out.
Cool.
And I'm going to jet out of the room, but thank you all so much for allowing me to sit in and learn as well, and we'll be back soon.
I'll probably just hit up the same song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy, holy, holy again. Here we go. This is holy, holy, holy.